We are now recording. Good, happy spring morning. We're here on Lookout Mountain, and we're going to finish up this week and next week with law. We will do law. We'll finish up with obscenity law. Ooh, what's offensive and what's not next week, and then get a little bit more into ethics. We already have a little in history. And we'll talk about ethical decision making. And then we will, at the week after, have a test. So that's what's up and coming. All right, Antsy puppy, you can get down. It is her 1-year birthday on Friday, so she will be officially a dog and not a puppy. Anyway, what we will do is, if you look at the class, we have a one question on copyright, extra credit. You can see, is downloading this video copyright violation? You tell me. So that's what we have, and it's posted to the site. Due by Friday. If you don't do it, you don't have to. It's optional. You don't do it at all, no harm, no foul. You do it right, you get 5 extra credit points. And the idea is to really think about copyright. That's what we're going to do today. Copyright is a right. We talk about in law rights and privileges. A privilege, again, is like a driver's license. Copyright is a right, the right of the person who makes something to control its use. I mean, if I build a house, I get to say who comes in and out. Copyright works like that. If you are an artist, a writer, a musician, what you do in copyright is your protection and your ability to use your property as you feel fit. Copyright covers all uses: reproduction, use, display, derivative work. You have to get the permission of the person who owns that copyright to use any part of it, including derivative work, something based on original work. If you're writing fan fiction, you know, for those of you who want to take something from a game or a book and expand on it, you need permission to publish it, to make money off of it. And we'll talk about that. That's derivative work. Now, if you're just going to do it for yourself, no harm, no foul. But soon as you charge for it, you need permission of the owner. Lasts for life plus 70 years, depending on the jurisdiction or the specific setup. Also, copyright is a civil law. It is not a criminal case. So if someone takes something you used, you have to find them and sue them. If you get sued for copyright, then they have to find you and sue you. So if you use, at the end of a basketball game, it says cannot be used without express written permission by the NCAA. If you copy it and save it, the NCAA probably isn't going to come after you, but they could, and you're screwed. They, you know, so there's not a copyright police out there. They usually just go after big cases. So that's the basics of why it is what it is. something to think about.
Here's an idea. You're not allowed to sing happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday is copyrighted.
Happy Birthday is the Guinness Book of World Records holder for the most performed song ever. You've probably heard it more than all of those Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, Rihanna, and One Direction songs combined.
God,
Unless you
so
work
young.
in the food court at the mall, in which case I'm very sorry. But for all the times your family and friends have sung an off-key happy birthday to you, or you've sung it to a friend in a crowded restaurant and they've turned bright red, there's probably a lot you don't know. Like, who wrote Happy Birthday and when? It was Patty and Mildred Hill in 1893. And that you're actually not allowed to perform it in public without licensing it because despite being 119 years old, it's still protected by copyright. Wait, what? I know it's weird, but it kind of makes sense. Sort of. Let's talk about copyright for a second before we decide whether or not Happy Birthday should still be copywritten or copyrighted. Copyright. Copyright is complex, but the aims are noble. One aim is to incentivize creators for making awesome junk, to protect their awesome junk from people who want to copy their.
Yes, you notice they use Metallica. Metallica sued a file sharing website that did not get permission to use their music. They just gave it to people for free. They sued and won, but then the file sharing site moved to Germany and did it all over again. And in Germany, they don't have to follow our laws. But as a result of that case, iTunes agreed to start charging 99 cents a song. So Metallica and the artists get their cut. But that was all worked out in a lawsuit.
They're awesome junk, but don't have the right. That's where the name copyright comes from, actually. In order to copy something, you need to have that right, that copyright. Another aim is to provide a system by which those works end up available to the public, thus increasing the pool of freely available culture. Once a copyright expires, that once protected work is then in the public domain. Once a work like James Joyce's Ulysses or George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead is in the public domain, it's available to everybody. And not just everybody in the club, but like everybody.
And see, George Romero, this is one reason why you see a lot of zombie movies. Because Romero, when he did Night of the Living Dead, he said, go ahead. He did not pursue a copyright. So anybody could make that kind of a zombie movie because he's not going to sue for copyright.
To remix, remake, alter, perform, go nuts. You could make a novelization of Night of the Living Ulysses, Space Rock Opera Ballet on Ice, the movie, and charge $45 for it. Or you could make awesome comics out of classic lit, link in the description. But once a work is in the public domain, it means the original creator doesn't profit as easily or in the same way from their creation anymore, which some people, some of whom have a lot of money and very much like their money, think isn't cool at all. Even a little. Not cool. Like imagine if Barbie, Mickey, and Luke Skywalker were in the public domain. There go the revenue models of some majorly successful people and businesses. Not to mention someone would probably make some kind of like terrible Disney-fied Star Wars crossover. Huh?
See, who owns Star Wars? You know, Disney. They own Star Wars, they own Marvel. So they can do this.
They did what? You have got to be kidding me. That is the stupidest.
And see, speaking of derivative works, that is a Matt Groening cartoon. Matt Groening, not Groening, Groening, who gave us The Simpsons. PBS, who produced this video, got permission to use this little clip in this little tape. Now, maybe they paid Fox and Groening some money, I don't know, but they got permission.
To continually protect these creative works, in the US at least, we've been extending copyright terms, thus keeping these things out of the public domain. Historically, we focused more on their ownership and profitability than on adding to.
Yeah, there you go. Not true, but funny.
To the pool of freely available culture. Originally only 14 years, copyright terms grew to 28, 56, and 75 years. Then life of the author plus 50 years, 70 years, 95 years, and in
some cases. It's gone up to 75. It was 70 when I first made this PowerPoint 4 years ago.
Some cases, life of the author plus 120 years. For some perspective, if this had always been the case, you could have been around for the annexation of the state of Texas, and the copyright on your banjo ditty would just about be expiring. Like Violet and the Chocolate Factory, copyright terms keep growing and growing and growing. Now, Happy Birthday isn't nearly as profitable as Mickey, but it is a beneficiary or victim, depending upon how you look at it, of the same system. Patty and Mildred Hill put some blood, sweat, and tears into Good Morning to All, the song which gives Happy Birthday its melody. They sold it to a publisher in 1893, who sold his business to another publisher, whose brother took over and then bought other publishers. At some point in here, Good Morning to All was given Happy Birthday's lyrics, and thanks to innumerable and mercurial cultural forces, it became the song we know and love. Happy Birthday to me.
Yes, they got permission to do that.
Not long after that, in the late 20th century, Happy Birthday's now much larger than it was in 1893 publisher sold for millions of dollars to the Warner Music Group, who still holds the copyright for Happy Birthday until 2030. That's right, the people who own the works for Dio, the Deftones, and Dragon Force own Happy Birthday until the year Ghost in the Shell standalone
Also, they own HBO and CNN.
complex takes place. Happy Birthday rakes in $2 million a year for Warner, who at one point sought royalties for all public performance, including that by wait staff at restaurants like Red Lobster.
Yes, Red Lobster pays Warner Brothers thousands of dollars a year in order to have the permission to sing Happy Birthday badly to you and your friends.
Which feels just icky. Holding a 100-year-old piece of much beloved and shared culture hostage for something like 0.1% of your annual revenue? HBD has certainly come a long
That's the rapper Childish Gambino.
way since that kindergarten classroom in the 1890s. The history and legality of this whole thing is complicated and really interesting, but Happy Birthday seems to indicate that maybe we've tilted towards one of copyright's two original aims. If you want to know more, there's a really great paper by Robert Brown Eyes about Happy Birthday and copyright. Link in the description. But the essential argument is this. At the point that ASCAP was shaking down Outback Steakhouse for protection money like some sort of chain restaurant mafia, were Mildred or Patty or anyone even related to them benefiting at all? And furthermore, is the fact that Happy Birthday is still protected stifling culture in some way? If the purpose of copyright is to incentivize creators while at the same time ensuring that at some point all culture is available, is it militaristic in one way and all loosey-goosey in another way, or is it all gravy? I mean, nothing should be more aggressively protected than the creative work that comes from your soul. Right? Not to mention when someone makes bank at a hedge fund, they don't have to spend their paycheck within 14 years before it becomes a public resource. Just because something is a piece of culture, does that mean we have to treat it differently? Allowed at some point to be consumed or performed by everybody, even and maybe especially the staff at Red Lobster? What do you guys think? Should Happy Birthday be protected by copyright? Let us know in the comments and click on my mustache.
Okay. Now that you're thoroughly confused, the thing is to remember there's no copyright police. So most people get away with it. To qualify for copyright protection, this is just it, and this is where things like fan fiction comes in. Work must be original. Since I'm a photographer, I went out and I took a picture at noon at Chamberlain Field. Anybody could do that. It's not original. If there's a thunderstorm and I get a bolt of lightning coming down and hitting the old gate in the middle of it, that's original. Must be able to be used professionally to prove value. This is where fan fiction comes in. If you're just playing around, you're not selling it. So if you use derivative works, if you take part of a video and put it into your own video and post it on YouTube, you're not making money on it. So you could do bits and pieces. Copyright is automatic. You don't need the copyright symbol. What that symbol is for is if you write a song and somebody else writes a similar song, who gets the money? But the person who gets the copyright. All of that patent stuff that we're talking about in the history portion, that works the same way. If there's a question on who invented the phone, it's the person who has the patent. All right, registered copyright is important if you expect disputes. Copyright and fair use. Anyway, digital implementing you all digital citizen work that used to have a copyright thing. Digital citizen. Video. Here it is.
Hi students, today we're going to talk about copyright. Do you know what copyright is? Creating things such as music, artwork, videos, photos, even cows takes time. Well, if you created something that you were really proud of and somebody took it and said that that was theirs, that they created it, how would you feel? So copyright protects the things that people create. Now your teacher is going to pause this video and you're going to discuss this question. How would you feel if somebody took something that you created?
Okay, it's a little cheesy, but that gives you the point.
Always ask permission before using somebody else's work. Make sure that you respect other people's work. Just because you find something on Google doesn't mean you have permission to use it.
There you go.
You should always ask permission. Your teacher can help you find some websites where people have given permission ahead of time to use their work. Maybe it's pictures or maybe their video.
Yes, common, free video, free pictures, real easy to do. I'll get to in a minute. This is why classical music is always good background, because it's easy to use.
So always stick with the
Plus
ones that have
copyrights
given
run out on
permission.
Beethoven.
And always think, how would I feel if they took it and it were mine? If you do use something that you found online, it's really important to cite your sources.
Yes.
What that means is to tell who it was that initially created it and tell the website where you got the information.
Yes.
When you cite your sources, you're being
I'm
responsible
big on that in
and
all the
respectful.
classes.
And that's being a good digital citizen. Now we're going to review some of the things you've learned in this.
Okay, a little elemental, but does the job.
When we go on the internet, it's common to scroll through other people's images, videos, writing, and artwork. We might even want to use them for projects in school or at home. And we might think, I found it online, so it's mine. But that's not the case. We can't treat things we find online like a free-for-all. The good news is that there are legitimate ways to use material we find online. But first, we need to be aware of three concepts: copyright, public domain, and fair use. Why is all of this so important? For one, there are legal reasons for protecting everyone's creative work. And there are also ethical reasons to give credit to the people who create the things we see and find online. Let's start with the legal reasons why we should think twice before copying and using someone's work. The first is copyright. Copyright is a legal protection that creators have over the things they create. Copyright requires people to get permission before they copy, paste, alter, or share what someone else
Yeah, we kind of went
from
through.
the internet are copyrighted. This means that the people who created them own the content and have a say in how they're used. But that doesn't mean that everything on the internet can't be used. Some creators indicate that their content is okay to be used by others, and other content might fall under what's called public domain. Let's look at what public domain means. When we search for content that's in the public domain, it means these creative works are not copyrighted and are free to use without permission by anyone, however they want. According to
I'll do like free pictures, free videos. They say free, then you could take them.
US law, some content becomes available as public domain after a certain number of years have passed since its creation. There are also specific images and documents published by the government that are considered public domain. So, when in doubt, search public domain to find a ton of things that are totally free to use.
Yep.
Now, if we want to use a photo, a video, music, or other content that's copyrighted, there are still a few things we can do. We can simply reach out and ask the creator for permission. Many creators are happy to give permission to reproduce their work, as long as they're given credit.
Yep.
The third concept to take advantage of is called fair use. Fair use allows us to use copyrighted work without permission, but only in certain ways and in specific situations. These conditions involve 4 areas to consider: amount, purpose, nature, and effect. First, we can only use a small amount of the original work. This means someone can't copy the whole copyrighted song in their dance video, but they
This is why sampling is legal. You can't use the whole thing, but you can use a bit of somebody's video.
can use a short clip of it. Second, there has to be a new purpose in the project, meaning that we transform the original work into something new and different. Next, it's easier to claim fair use if the nature of the original work is nonfiction or based in fact, rather than
Yeah, because the facts are public domain. Information is public domain. What you use with your facts, that's different.
creative or fictional. And finally, we need to ask ourselves whether the effect of the new work negatively affects the creator or the value
If you're making money, you need to include the creator of that work.
of the original content. For instance, are we charging for or making money off someone else's work? Claiming fair use is determined on a case-by-case basis, but it's more likely acceptable if it's one, for schoolwork and
Yep, schoolwork and education, pretty much you can do almost anything.
education, 2, for criticizing or commenting on something, 3, for news reporting, or 4, for comedy or as a parody of something. We can think of fair use kind of like a square and ask ourselves, is it fair and square? So that's the legal stuff. But let's not forget the ethical considerations when using content found
So
online.
we get to plagiarism.
Think about it. If you created something original and put it online, wouldn't you want others to give you credit for your work? What if they changed it or made money off it and no one knew you were the original creator? That's just not right. So remember, when we go online in search of things to use, keep these 3 concepts in mind: copyright, public domain, and fair use. We're all creative thinkers and creators.
This is a good video. I think I'll keep it. I don't know what happened to this other one. They changed it on me, but anyway. Okay, all right. public domain, what is in the public domain? Public documents, anything that the government says you can use. Anything that's owned, by the government, we need to know, we have a right to know what they're spending money on. Expressions made in public, if someone says something in public, you can record it. Information, news, facts, ideas, theories, and opinions. Ideas are free. What you do with them, if you take the fact that it's a sunny day out and you make a music video called Sunny Day, that's yours. But if I just say it's a sunny day, no copyright. Expired copyrights, classical music. You can use all of that you want because Beethoven and Mozart are dead. Things not recognizable as original. Generic common things, flowers, birds. Items of no commercial value. Like I said, fan fiction. Items expressly put in the public domain by the copyright holders. Some people say, go right ahead. George Romero on the zombie movies. A link. You could have a link to a web page, but not the actual page. Commonly copyrighted things, music, concerts, plays, writing. Facts may be public. The words describe them are not if they are original. Images, drawings, arts, photos, commercial ideas, patents, trademarks. For what it's worth, Tiffany and Company claims to have patented its color teal. I'll do that. If you've got something from the Tiffany box, and it is luxury jewels, and it is that color teal on that line, their box is that color. All their stuff is that color. So if you see a box with that color, it says Tiffany. They claim they own that color. Silly, perhaps, but they try to sue it. Patents, trademarks, shows, movies, sporting events, software, hardware, inventions. Gray areas, orphan copyright. If you see something and you're not sure where it comes from, that's called an orphan copyright. If we're not sure, that's again a gray area. Unusual items, like I just said, the Tiffany box, the view of an item, the Walnut Street Bridge, the aquarium. You take a picture of the aquarium and it is such a original thing, the aquarium can claim they own it, especially if you make a poster and sell it. Non-commercial uses of copyright items. If you use it, like I said, you download the basketball game, and you should use it show it to your friends. That's not really legal, but no one's going to stop you. One exception, education purposes, you could do almost anything for school. There's no copyright police, so you have to sue or be sued yourself. What a lot of people do is put a watermark. You ever see photographers? They always put their little names at the bottom of it. That's for copyright protections. Words or irregularities. Map makers usually put in a fake road to prove it's their map. Warnings. Don't take this. People do that all the time. Plagiarism. Use of material without acknowledgement, without saying where it come from. Making your own work look original when it's not. It's an ethical issue, not a legal one. No laws against plagiarism, but again, since education is a privilege, not a right, we can penalize you. Cite or credit works to avoid just ethical. When in doubt, credit your sources. Modern issues, corporate ownership, Google images. Google owns a lot of stuff. and they want you to pay for it. Again, inability to police. Common licenses allow you to do some things and not others, depending on the source. Fair use, we talked about. International copyright. Signers of the Berne Convention in 1998 said countries will honor copyright, but there's no international courts. So no, people do it all the time. Particularly, this is an issue with China. China steals our movies and videos all the time, and there's no place to sue them, so they just go nah, nah, nah. So we pay millions of dollars to make a movie. They just click a few buttons and resell it, and it's an issue. And of course, lack of awareness of copyright law, which is what I'm doing now. Okay. I think we got her covered. I know there's a lot to it. Next week, freedom of information, obscenity, and ethics. And you saw I have an extra credit question on copyright prepared for today. Otherwise, have a lovely, lovely week. And I will be around.